Hi, welcome to a product demonstration of Enhanced Financial Reporting Acumatica add-on product by IQmagic software. I'll be using the standard Acumatica sales demo tenant data. I have published the customization package and activated the product, which adds the following menus under the finance preferences, and I will start by importing the preset data that comes with the product. On the EFR preferences screen, I can see a list of records that are included. There is some standard Acumatica report definitions and column sets, and then the row sets are the standard record type, but they're actually generated from the combination of group set and report style. And everything is tagged with the report class to help with matching the right record types. At the top, we have some settings that apply only to import of new records. There is also the ability to later update existing records back to the preset definitions, but this does not affect that. For new records, I can I can import both detail and summary versions of the reports, or if it's not needed, I can choose just detail, for example, and then the summary reports are skipped or summary only. I can also choose the default style. If you don't know which style is what at this time, that's okay. We can easily change that later. So I will leave this as style 1. And I can also choose which profit and loss groups that I want to use as my default import. So it comes with 2 different ones, the EBITDA style and the gross net style. You can later add a second one as well if you wish so. Okay, I will import everything, all the preset data. I will leave my settings default, and this should create all the records in the system. Once the import is finished, the system will take us to the group set screen. And the reason why is if you're using only the standard Acumatica account classes that come with the blank installation, then everything will work just out of the box. If you have any custom account classes, which most of our clients do, you will have to then add them to the existing report structure. This is the main screen, the main building block that we will be using to create our report structures. And we can see up here there is a record ID and description, pretty standard things. Report style that is applicable to this report, to this group set, and the report class. Report class on the screen actually limits the type of account classes that are shown. So profit and loss only shows income and expense to choose from, whereas balance sheet and cash flow will show only the assets and liabilities. Over here we see the report structure. So this is a flat 1-level report. If we click on one of these, we can see which account classes more easily are included in it. It is also listed in the report group. So everything that has sales in here belongs to the sales group. Everything that has overheads belongs to the overheads. In here also we have an order. So we can reorder specific account classes up or down to be shown before on the report. We could also rename, so these groups, for example, the first one doesn't have a subtotal. Second one does, which means that once the data is shown, it will show the sales minus the cost of goods sold. it knows automatically, instead of adding the two amounts, if one is income, the other one is expense, it will subtract, and we will get our gross profit here, followed by a subtotal after overheads, and so on. Additionally, on the screen, we can see over here there's the count of active accounts in this account class. So in theory, we don't have to really worry about that one much because it has no active accounts. And on the right, we can see the accounts that belong to this account class. Now, this is just for information purposes. If you're not sure where this account class should go on the report structure, looking at the list of accounts that belong to it may help you in figuring that out if the name of the class is not clear enough. What we're going to do next is we're going to take a look at, so this group set is used on a number of row sets. So I'll open a list of row sets, and in here we can see the ones that were added by the product, starting with the IQ codes, and the P&L is used on two row sets, profit and loss detail and profit and loss summary, which means that if you change this group set, it will actually update both of the row sets, which we'll get to a little bit later. Once we go into, let's start with the profit and loss detail. These rows here, they were not actually included in that import, but are generated once the import is finished. So once the group set is defined, these rows are created, and any changes to the group set or the style will result in updated rows here. So these rows are not meant to be manually adjusted anymore, and this is where the product integrates back into the standard Acumatica functionality. So it creates the rows, and in theory you could uninstall the product and the rows will remain and the reports will keep working. The only difference is you won't have the group sets to make changes and add new reports to create new rows here. So next we'll look at what this report actually looks like. So this group set IQ PLDT is used on IQ profit and loss detail here, for example. That's the one we're going to start with. So on it we can see that it's using this row set, it's using the imported column set, and it's defined as the profit and loss class. When we run this report, I'll just run it from here. If you've done the import and it's still the same tab, you need to reload the screen to refresh the menu. And I will just select the product company, and there's no data in the current period. And this is what the standard profit and loss report looks like in style 1. And if we go back to our group set, it follows the order here and within the order here. So if we take a look at sales, we will see sales are income sales and then other income, which is this one followed by this one. The default setting on the style is to suppress rows that don't have any data. So the other two are skipped in this case. If we wanted to change the style of this report, so we imported the default style 1. what we can do is we can look at the styles. So I'll go to the report style screen now. And if I click on the first one, there are two tabs here. One defines the style, the other one describes the style. So this tab is intended to give you information what this style does. So for example, this one has footer total, so it means there's a header and then a footer total after the group, and again level above it, current assets, total current assets, and then assets would be below. And it is indented, meaning each level is moved to the right a little. It has dark lines to lighter lines going down the levels. It's black, dark gray, light gray. And if I wanted to find the style that is closest to what my client likes or I like, I can just scroll through and I can see the difference immediately. So I can also click on it to get a zoom in. So the difference between style 1 and 2 is just the lines going from this to this. It keeps the indentation, just hides the lines. Style 3 gets rid of the indentations, keeps the lines. And style 4 uses shaded backgrounds for high levels instead of the lines and indentations. The default for all styles is to open the account under the account class and to show both the account number and the description. If I go to the profit and loss group set and change the style, so let's say I change it to style 4. The moment I save this, the product will actually go and update all the row sets to the new style and replace the existing rows. So all the row sets that use that group set are updated now. So if I refresh this, it will be a completely different set of rows. And that's why it is not recommended. It doesn't really make sense to make manual changes because if you change the style or the group set, they will get overridden. There is a way to insert manual rows for some calculation formulas, but unless it's ticked manual, the system will just treat them as temporary. So basically any changes are temporary until the next rebuild. If we now go look at the report itself, because the row set has been automatically updated, all I need to do is reload the report and I will get a different looking report that will still have the exact same data. So we have not changed the structure of the report or the account class locations inside the report structure or the order. So all of that is still exactly the same, it just looks different. And that's how easy it is to change the style. If I wanted to keep all of my row sets in the same style, all I need to do is, if we go back to the list of row sets, we can see which styles are being used. So I would just need to update 2 more group sets, being the cash flow to the same style and the balance sheet. And now I have a consistent set of reports again. So if I go run my balance sheet, it will be the style 4 shaded version. Just like that. If I had custom classes, there would be a little bit more work after importing the the preset data. So right now, because I was using only the standard Acumatica account classes, the product knew exactly where to put each account class as we predefined that. What I will do next is I will open a new tab on a different tenant that I prepared earlier. And the only difference on this tenant is that we have updated certain account classes. And a lot of them have different class codes. So the product will not know about these, and we need to add them to the report structure as part of our deployment of the product. So going to the same screen, I will do the exact same import. And then when the product takes me to the group sets, I will go through them and update the assignment of account classes. So basically now I have any codes that were the same as standard Acumatica account classes are automatically aligned. All the other ones are blank. And this is where, to complete deployment, all we need to do is assign it. If I was importing this from Excel, all I would need is the report group column, which is from this list of report groups here, and the account class, and optionally the order. Otherwise the system will order it itself. You could say advertising belongs to overheads by selecting it here. Notice that the blank ones are on top, and this places advertising into overheads. But the easier way and recommended way is to select the report group on the left and then just tick the ones that we want. So for example, we want in the overheads, we do want bank fees. We want insurance expense. We want licenses, office, other, travel, services, personnel. And on the cost of goods sold, there's only one, which was already, it had the same code as the standard one. On the sales, we have additional, want to pick up related income, returns, and non-operating income. Under depreciation amortization, we will assign the depreciation expense. Under interest, we will do both the interest income and interest expense. And then under taxes, I missed one, so we will do, let me do a mistake here. So I'll put the expenses professional under taxes and then realize that I want it in overheads. All I need to do is then retick it once I select overheads. So to move it around, now it's in taxes. If I tick it, it's back into overheads. If I cared about the order, I can choose, for example, expenses other to be moved at the bottom of the overheads list. And this is the order it will be shown on the report in. So if I save this, I will complete my profit and loss statement. There are no account classes left. Everything has been assigned somewhere in the report. And this will then update our row set. And if we quickly jump into it, so the P&L detailed report, this is what we just built in the same order that we built it. So if we keep going to overheads section, we can see it goes related expense, advertising expense, bank fees, and so on, just as we, in the order that we did it. And we can go look at our report. So profit and loss. This is what I was talking about. So this is the same tab I ran the import on, and the menu hasn't been updated yet. If we refresh it, it will load the new reports as well. And this is our report in just the exact same order and structure that we defined there in literally a couple of minutes. And if you prepare that ahead of time with your client, you can use the import from Excel once more. Going back to our standard sales demo, if we go back to the list of report definitions, we can see that the standard Acumatica ones are left there. If you haven't deleted these already from the client, in that case you might have some custom ones. The reports provided here are a direct replacement for the entire set of reports, which is out of the box from Acumatica. And our recommendation is to, at the very least, remove the old Acumatica reports from the menu. So by taking it off, we end up with just the new report sets. Alternatively, there's nothing wrong with deleting them completely and just leaving the IQ set. As I said, even if you uninstall the product, they will remain and function. But otherwise, you can leave the old ones as well. Just remove them from the menu so the customer doesn't see them. Going back to the difference between the detail and summary. So we can see that on the summary report, so this is now P&L summary version, it will hide the accounts. So now it's just the report groups in the structure defined there with the totals per account class. All the accounts are hidden. And it is defined actually on the row set. So if we look at, there are two row sets that use the same report group, IQPLEB. And in here, we can, if we update the group set, it will update both of these. The only difference between the detail and summary is this data source override. Now, in order to get there, let's take a look at the styles first. So how are styles defined? Style is where we have the same interface that we have on the row set rows, where we can define things such as on the GL type, what we want to show. So if you wanted to change this and make all of our reports hide account codes, this is where we would make that change. And we can do it quickly and easily across the entire set of a dozen reports just by going to each level. So each level corresponds to a level over here. This is a single level, so it will just use this as level 1 and the account classes as level 2. If we take a look at the balance sheet, it actually has 3 levels. So this uses these 3 top levels, use the rows defined on level 1. And the way it works is we have 4 sections: the header section, the data section, the total section, and the subtotal section. This is a little bit different to the row set selection, and it's meant to group certain lines that are inserted in certain places. If we filter out on data section, for example, we can easily look at all 4 levels. And if I wanted to hide the account code across all of my reports that are using this style, so account description, going back here, doing the same thing, description. So 4 things to change. And save. And all of the row sets, everywhere where we have the GL lines, will be now defaulted to expand and show just the descriptions. So if I refresh this and go check, sorry, this is the summary version. On the detail one, we can see that there's description now. And every line where we have some account class has been updated across all of the row sets that use this style. What is possible next is we can actually override this setting on the group set itself. If we look more carefully at our profit and loss, we will see that, let me go to the detail one. Sorry, that's the balance sheet. So balance sheet detail. And we find the equity. We can compare it to the other ones. Maybe the style isn't as clear as the first one. Let me switch all the reports back to style 1, which is a very quick thing to do. So once again, I have changed the look of all of my reports. So rerunning the report. Makes it look completely different. And then going to the end, we can see that, for example, all the other account classes, accounts payable, liabilities, taxes, show the accounts underneath them, whereas equity doesn't. Equity only shows the account classes. And that is because on the equity, I have chosen to override the data source. So the rest of them don't have that. I could override it, but it's not. Once it's overridden, it lets me change this and say do not expand account. So the default from the class is overridden on that specific report group to say leave the account class total. Do not expand nothing. And that is also possible to be on the third level overridden by the row set data. And that is the difference between the detail row sets and the summary row sets. So we can see here it's overridden to say expand nothing. And that is why we have 2 different looking row sets. Just changing this one generates completely different rows here. So it's the same group set, same order, same structure, same style. It just hides the accounts. So if we compare it to the detail, it's showing the account class header, then lists the accounts, then shows the account class total, whereas the summary only shows the account class and the setting is expand nothing. If we wanted to change something else on that style, so let's say we wanted to make all the reports have a blue line on the level 1 instead of black. And we want to make that blue line on the top and the bottom. All I need to do is, again, filter out my lines And here I can see that level 1 has black lines, level 2 has dark gray, level 3 has light gray. So on level 1, I will just say blue. The background is important to have the line go across the whole report, otherwise it's limited just to the numbers, but that's standard Acumatica ARM functionality. And making all of these blue, saving the style, and then rerunning, just reloading this report. We'll see more of it on the profit and loss. Let's change there. So profit and loss now has blue lines for level 1, as well as balance sheet. Let's do the summary, balance sheet summary. And there they are, blue lines. So that's how easily we can change the style, and then this updates all of our reports the moment we save that style change. You could also create your own style if you don't want to change the default ones. At any point you can copy the style. There's also an option to update the existing records that are using this style. So you don't want to change the default style, you want to leave it stock in case you need it later, but you want to update everything that exists using style 1 into your style. This is what you would tick. And now when I go to my row sets, I'll see that this style is now my style. And because it's a direct copy that I haven't made any changes to yet, the reports look exactly the same. But here I can unfilter my things and I can make my changes. And I could have left IQ style 1 with black and create a copy of it with blue. And then later, if I want to change, I can go back to my style, to the original style. If you did make changes to style 1, so I'll set it back, and if we rerun just to verify that it is still blue, and you want to reset the default records, we can do that with the same screen we used to import the new data, but this time around all the data exists and nothing is selected. I can say just reset style 1, and there's a little warning saying that the existing data will be overridden and the reports will be affected, which is what I want. So I want to reset my reports back to black lines. I'll just click import data, and if I go rerun my report, it has black lines. So you can do your own styles. I suggest starting from one of the existing ones to make things easier, and then tweaking things. If you deactivate a certain line, it will not be used. So you can leave it there in case you change your mind later, so you don't have to reinsert as a quicker way to turn on and off certain things. And that's pretty much it for the report styles. You can use the existing ones, you can make your own, you can make changes to existing ones. Either way is supported, and then if you need to, you can reset the preset ones back. And it applies to any other records. If you made changes to group sets or something and you want to reset them, group set probably not the best thing to reset if you have a custom account classes for the customer, as you have to then re-add them. It will delete everything. So that one I would not recommend re-importing. What we can do next is look at a brand new, how would I create a brand new report? So let's say I need, start from scratch. I want to build a management P&L, which will have a different report structure. Different things will be grouped and added. I'll start by selecting the style. Right now, there is no class, so I can see all the account classes of all types. The moment I say it's a P&L, I can only see income and expense now. And the way to build the structure is quite simple and standard for other Acumatica tree interfaces. And I will create, let's call this one operating income. And the subtotal, I don't need a subtotal actually. And inside this one, I will create two subgroups. One will be operating sales, and the other one on the same level. So if I click plus, it adds a child of the currently selected tree group. If I click the next group button, it will actually add a sibling below it. So I will do that and call it operating expenses. And then I'll add a new, sorry, not there, over here. I will add non-operating income with two children called non-operating sales and non-operating expenses. One thing I want at the very bottom, I want the sum of the two, and I want to call it net income. Once I've defined the structure, all I need to do is assign the account classes. So I will start in the opposite way. So I will do non-operating first, which is interest income, non-operating income. And then I'll do the rest. And I'll click in the order that I want this to appear so I don't have to move them up and down. So I'll choose sales first, followed by other income, related income, and then returns and allowances. So this is now assigned all of my income account classes. And under non-operating expenses, I will put depreciation, interest, taxes, not travel, and let's just put everything else in the operating expenses. And again, the order matters, so COGS, leave other for last. And now I have all of my account classes assigned. I can save this. And what I need to do is create a row set for it and a report definition with the columns that I want on it. So my next step is to, I already have it open, to create a new row set. PLM detail, for example. It will be using that P&L management that I just created. There's just a warning that this will be an automatically managed row set and that you shouldn't be changing the rows. And when I save this, the system will create rows for me. And there it is. It built a couple hundred rows in seconds, and I'm ready to go to report definitions. And the quickest way is to just grab a similar report, because then we don't have to change all these settings. So I'll just make a copy of this report, plmdt. I will change the row set to my new row set, and just make some description changes and save it. And that will allow me to run my new report. And on this report, we can see that it does the operating income split into operating sales with its account classes, operating expenses, and then at the end there's a total for the operating income, followed by the non-operating income in two sections, sales and expenses, and ends with a subtotal for the net income across both operating and non-operating groups. And this took me probably 5 minutes to create this new report with several hundred rows. And if I needed to change something, once I run the report and I go, oh, actually I want personnel to be higher, I'm going to move this to be right after the COGS. If I, just to double check, personnel is under the office, so it's COGS, advertising, bank, insurance, office personnel. If I save my change, row set is rebuilt. All I need to do is rerun the report. And now we have COGS followed by personnel. And if you ever built a report, you'd know that you have to update all of the lines in between to move all the numbers to be in the right order, and everything across all the lines between the COGS and where personnel used to be. So this would take many minutes compared to a couple of seconds on maintenance of this report. You can also make a copy. If this is close to what you want just a similar version, we can make a copy of the report. And then we can make changes. We could, I don't know, we could drop the first group, for example. So I could move operating sales to the top level, and operating expenses, this is the move button, and then you just choose the new parent, and then delete the operating income. Set the non-operating income to the bottom, so we got sales, expenses. Make this a subtotal, gross profit, and this is now a brand new structure. It kept all the classes linked to the lowest level, so I don't have to redo the classes. I just rearranged the structure. And if I were to go to the row set, I could create a new one as a new version, but I'll just update this one to show the difference real quick. Sorry, I didn't select this right. Come on. It warns me that it will rebuild everything. Alright, that was a bit of a mistake there, but everything looks fine now. It's because, because when we did the previous change in the reordering, I don't think I refreshed this before coming here and changing this. if we run the report again, the difference will be there will be no operating income group. It will start operating sales, operating expenses, then it will give us a subtotal, and then it will group the non-operating income. So let's see that difference. Didn't I? PLM, I didn't change the group set. My apologies. I should have refreshed the data before changing the group set, as changing this changes that, so it was obsolete. One more time. And now we have operating sales, followed by operating expenses, followed by gross profit as a subtotal, and then non-operating income in 2 levels, and then net income. So as you can see, it's quite flexible, and just the way you group things is how it adds everything together and automatically figures out what needs to be added and subtracted, as opposed to figuring out these formulas by yourself. So for example, this is the gross profit formula, and then at the very end there is the this is the expenses. Sorry, where? Oh, how do you get back to this one? I didn't see I changed that. Going to the bottom, the net income is automatically calculated with the right subtractions and additions to make it correct based on the account class type. If I wanted to make this account class level a summary version, all I need to do is find the right one, override the data source, and it defaults to expand nothing, meaning account class level. Now I would probably want to either change the name to summary or create a new row set and do this, but just for demo purposes I'll run it as it's called, and my report is sorry, let me refresh this. It for some reason kept moving back to a different row set. Alright, let's try it now. That is not the right code. PLMDT, management detail. Probably should have given it a better code that doesn't confuse it with the existing codes. And there we go. So I've changed the right row set, overrode the data source, and the report now doesn't open the account classes, just lists the totals. So no accounts in this report. And again, if this is a management report and I want to make it shorter, I could use, for example, style 8, which is a header total. And just by changing the style, we're going to move all the totals to the header and then the breakdown beneath it. So we run in the report. We can see operating sales, the total, and then the breakdown below it. And expenses total and breakdown. So it flips header and footer totals. And that is how you would create a custom report group. And then all we need to do is create a row set and a report definition to run our report. But rows are not touched anymore. One final thing to mention is the report classes. So because I said this row set is this class, when I go to my report definition, I can define it on the report as well. So this report definition is balance sheet class, which then restricts the selection of my row sets. I can't select the P&L class row sets. If nothing is defined, you can still select it. So these are the default Acumatica that don't have a report class. If you have any existing reports that you want to keep and you want to make sure that you don't build a P&L report definition with a balance sheet row set and P&L column set, you can assign the existing ones. So if I go to an existing Acumatica one, I can give it a class. So I don't have to assign that to assign a class. And I can say this is a P&L, save it, and next time I'm selecting the row sets, I can only select sorry, this is the balance sheet. I can no longer select that P&L class row set. I would have to go to a P&L report, and now I can select that one that I just gave a class. So if you give classes to all of your row sets, column sets, unit sets, works as well, and the reports themselves, report definitions, then your list is always matching. And as I already said, the other function of report class is to restrict the account classes visible here. And that is something, if you wanted to create your own report class and you want to keep it completely separate from everything else, you can do that as well. On the screen, I can add a custom one. And in here, I can choose which account class types are valid. So we can see that profit and loss is defaulted to income and expense, and balance sheet is assets and liabilities, for example. And that's the basic functionality there. If you have any questions, or if you are interested to have a more personal demo or anything about the product, just contact us and we'll get in touch with you. Thank you.